with Michigan State defenseman Artyom Levshunov. We're talking about a prospect who brings the certainty that comes with high-end production against strong competition in North America, with the plausible upside to potentially become a star-level NHL defenseman. Now, despite the fact that Levshunov is currently playing in college at Michigan State, he is not from the United States. He's from Belarus. He actually came over 2 seasons ago, first to play in the USHL for the Green Bay Gamblers, and then this season, he enrolled at Michigan State University and started his freshman year with the Spartans. So how did the big 6'2" defenseman do in his freshman season with Michigan State? Let's just say he did pretty darn well. In 38 games with the Spartans, he finished with 35 points, near point per game from the back end. 9 goals, 26 assists, and let's just say he was one of those defensemen who was constantly involved. He was constantly doing something, speaking to his really, really impressive physical tools. Whether it was activating on the rush, pinching in the offensive zone, carrying the puck through the neutral zone, battling in the corners and net front, Levshunov is just one of those defensemen who always popped. He was always noticeable. He was always, in the classic sense, driving play for the Michigan State Spartans. Then you add in the fact that he's 6'2", he's already well built, he's strong, he has a long, fluid stride. It's not at all hard to see why scouts and NHL teams are this high on Artyom Levshunov. Now, my guess with Levshunov is that he's not going to last very long in the 2024 NHL Draft. He's almost a lock to be picked in the top 10. I think there's a good chance he gets picked in the top 5, and there are very good reasons why Levshunov is viewed that highly by NHL teams. He doesn't come without risk, but there's clear top pair, if not number 1 defenseman potential at the NHL level when it comes to Artyom Levshunov. So what are the strengths that scouts love so much about Levshunov? The main one, I would say, is the offensive upside. Now, yes, he's a defenseman, but this is a guy who has the ability to control play with the puck, especially at 5-on-5. As I said, he's one of those defensemen that's just kind of everywhere. He can do pretty much everything physically, and he wants to do everything in terms of his decisions with and without the puck. That's very exciting for NHL clubs. Levshunov has an attacking mindset both with and without the puck. He wants to do things, and he wants to do things all the time. He's not just going to be a passive observer on the ice. He's going to try to make things happen. He's also an exceptionally smooth skater. He just eats up space. He's got that big frame, the long legs, and once he gets going north-south, he's really hard to stop. To go along with that skating ability, he has legitimately good size. 6'2", probably has the frame to put on even a bit more muscle, and he's got very long reach, which in theory could make him a strong rush defender and a strong in-zone defensive defenseman given time. Now, if we're talking about that defensive zone play, though, and the defensive play as a whole, it's not perfect yet. However, and this is something scouts very much liked about Levshunov in his freshman season with Michigan State, it got better as the year went on. That tells them the upside is there, the upward trajectory is there, and they hope, given even more time, he could become maybe a good defensive defenseman, maybe a great defensive defenseman. The tools are there. It's just going to come down to whether he can keep that upward trajectory going in the right direction. Now, Levshunov isn't lacking for weaknesses. I hinted at it a few minutes ago. The defensive zone play, the defensive play as a whole, it's still a work in progress to be sure. He's not perfect. He makes mistakes. He has some misreads. He pinches or activates and leaves his other defenseman out to dry. It does happen. He's not a finished product, but the hope is that he is continuing to get better. However, there's always the possibility that this is just who he is. As for the skating, it's good. He's got the smooth stride. He's got the fluid stride. I wouldn't quite call him a dynamic skater. I wouldn't say that he quite has that breakaway gear that makes you come out of your seat. He's a good skater. He's good for his size, to be sure, but I don't think he's a great skater. And then there's the mistakes. If you watch him enough, you're going to see Levshunov make mistakes. He can be a bit too casual with the puck at times. He can be a bit too casual without the puck at times, but especially with the puck, sometimes he thinks he has more time than he does, and that leads to turnovers, that leads to bad decisions, and that leads to plays that NHL teams will eat alive at that level. It also leads to some pretty ugly lapses and gaffes without the puck. Doesn't happen all the time. It's not like it's an every shift problem, but they happen more than you want to see. And they're things that he's going to have to clean up if he wants to hit his ceiling as a potential top pair defenseman at the NHL level. Now, for me personally, Artyom Levshunov is not one of my absolute favorite defensemen in this class. There are players who I think bring a bit less risk and bring similar upside, but I do like him a lot. I certainly wouldn't let him fall out of the top 10. I suspect he's going to go significantly higher than that. If I had to bet, I think he gets taken in the top 5. It wouldn't shock me at all if he becomes an impact top pair defenseman, and I certainly would be happy if my favorite team picked him because I think the upside's there. Just isn't one of my favorites, but the upside's undeniable, and it would not shock me in the slightest if he becomes a top pair, if not a top number 1 defenseman at the NHL level.
We all silly like the mayor.